worth watching this week. There were a handful of kick-ass moments that made the entire 3-hour odyssey worth watching. The Miz is back! Joe's a badass, and the club actually did something for once. So let's get this shit started. Vinnie Mac must have been sick this week or something, because how else do you explain Anderson, Gallows, and Finn Balor getting TV time to do something that actually matters for once? My jaw was on the fucking floor. So now we're getting Rollins, Reigns, and Jordan against the club in a 6-man tag match later in the night. And I am perfectly content with that for once, because all those 6-man and 6-women tag matches have become way too commonplace in the WWE landscape, as I'm sure we all know. But the club has been ignored and abused for far too goddamn long now that I'm willing to take almost anything that they give them to work with. And they could really do a lot worse than putting them up against 3 of Raw's champions, couldn't they? It's pretty damn great, and I've been enjoying the hell out of Jordan being an awkward, confident douche ever since he got involved with all the main eventers. I don't know how you don't enjoy something like this taking place. And speaking of lots of tag team matches, we had a tag match for the women again this week, because that's the only way you can feature them on WWE television nowadays. Bayley and Sasha took on Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, with Mickie James and Paige at ringside to keep the odds even, and it was a decent enough match, and Absolution lost. They lost! 50-50 booking strikes again, making sure that no one gets too over. At this point, I'm finding it really hard to give a crap about anything Absolution and the Riot Squad do, because their run so far has just been terribly underwhelming. It's too bad, too. I remember saying here, when they first debuted, that I was going to be cautiously optimistic going into this whole thing, but after everyone stopped when massive Lady Balls McMahon made the Women's Rumble announcement, especially looking at you, Paige, and now after this loss, I don't think I'd blame you for not being terribly interested in all of this either. What a shame. I'm not feeling much of a hype for the Women's Rumble so far. Goldust and Cedric Alexander had a backstage segment this week, and I found it entertaining enough. Why Goldust isn't featured a hell of a lot more on TV is beyond me. The man's not getting any younger, and he is one of the tippity top performers in the entire business, and a living fucking legend. And if you listen to the ENC Pot of Awesomeness, he was a guest on it a number of weeks back, and even he said that he'd love to be doing more, but that they basically just throw scraps at him. When they need someone to do something minor that they couldn't give a fuck about, they sometimes call on him to do it. It should be a crime punishable by law. I want more Goldust on my WWE TV. Woken Matt Hardy finally had a match this week in which he took on Kurt Hawkins, and Hawkins obviously lost, and it was entertaining to watch. The match itself wasn't anything terribly special, but it didn't need to be, because Matt debuted with new entrance music that featured his trademark laughter, and it seemed to suit him just well. I liked it. And then after he pinned Hawkins, Bray Wyatt did his magic in-ring appearance. Matt turned around, and they both looked into their eyes with smoldering sexual tension, laughed at each other as they usually do, and then the show moved on to the next segment. I give it a pass. It was good for what it was, because it at least wasn't just another video featuring them both. The Miz is back, and god damn did he spit some fire on that microphone, and the crowd missed him too, pun intended. The segment started with Elias doing his usual song shtick, then Miz and the Miztourage came out together. Bo and Axel started showering Miz with gifts, trying to impress him more than the other, until he finally told them to shut the hell up and stop, and then he spit the absolute fire, saying that he let Reigns take the Intercontinental title in his absence because he wanted it to keep being featured on the show, but now Daddy was home again, and he was coming after him to take it back. Awesome! Simply awesome stuff, and maybe the best part of the show up to this point. We had the Cruiserweight match this week that we were supposed to have last week. Enzo versus Cedric, and the match was going pretty well. Enzo got busted by a knee from Cedric, and he had half a crimson mask going on, and the referee took like half a goddamn hour to try to put on his latex gloves, which I'm happy about because I'm not one for stopping matches when someone's busted open hard way. And not only was he busted open, but Cedric did a front flip from the ring to the outside, and Enzo caught it horribly because all the impact seemed to go to one of his ankles, which he immediately clutched the moment they were both on the ground, and he screamed, "No, not now, not now!" So it looked nasty, and he made it look like it was a serious situation, which it hopefully wasn't, but I'd be surprised if it wasn't. He lost the match by countout, so he retained the title, and here's to hoping that it isn't as bad as it looked. The Bar went to Kurt backstage to get in his face about not receiving their tag title rematch last week, but Kurt told them that they'll be getting it at the Rumble, which is all well and good, and that put a smile on their faces. But they also said, "Hey, you want to beat someone up tonight, cause not getting the chance to do that would make this a boring night." And Kurt told them, "Alright, head out to the ring, I'll find you some opponents." And those opponents were Titus and Apollo, and I immediately cared way less about the match than I would have had they gone up against anyone else. And they actually ended up winning the damn thing! They won with a roll-up, but they won! So color me surprised. But at the same time, with the 50-50 booking situation that's been going on in the company for a while, as we mentioned earlier, in hindsight, it isn't really that surprising. Could this be the start of a more proper rebuilding of the Raw Tag Division? Probably not, but at least the crowd seemed to be genuinely happy that Titus Worldwide got the victory. Paul Heyman did his usual kick-ass promo about how badly Lesnar's going to destroy Kane and Strowman at the Rumble, but the real important stuff happened shortly after it backstage, after Kane had attacked Lesnar from behind, and then Strowman joined in shortly thereafter and just ran over them both. And then he beat them up with some of the equipment crates that were lying around in the area, so they were both down, and the motherfucker pulls down the pipe frame that was right there next to them, on top of them with a hook. So it was Braun doing Braun things, pretty much, because the man can do pretty much anything at this point. If the moon decided to crash into the planet now, Braun would probably be able to push it back in place. Paul Heyman sold it like the fucking pro that he is, but I just went, they weren't exactly crushed. The structure was like 3 or 4 feet off the ground, and there was a lot of open area between the pipes that simply wouldn't have hit anything or anyone, which you could clearly see, so that kinda killed it for me. And Lesnar was stretchered out, but he was conscious just a bit after it, and Kane managed to walk away on his own 2 feet, so that's that. It's gonna be remembered as one of those crazy things that Braun did in his career 20 years down the line, but I wasn't able to suspend my disbelief enough to buy into it when the camera work made sure to show us that they weren't gonna get crushed to begin with. Samoa Joe squashed Rhino this week with Slater at ringside, and Rhino really got no offense in whatsoever, so he looked like the badass that we all know that he is. But again, the best part of this segment wasn't the match itself, but the intense, kick-ass promo that he cut after the match, in which he said that he was going to get Reigns eventually, but that he wanted to focus on something else for the time being, and that something else is the Rumble match. And not only that, but he put emphasis on his intention to eliminate Cena, which he said would be his first elimination. So how's that for big plans for the big Samoan? Eh? Raw was in Memphis this week, so where the fuck was the king to yell out puppies in this moment? The main event was pretty cool. There was a top-notch action that you'd expect from 6 of the most talented guys in the roster, but ultimately, the match took a turn for the worst for Team 2/3 of the Shield when Jordan ended up distracting the referee once, allowing Gallows and Anderson to hit Rollins with the Magic Killer, and then Jordan messed it all up some more when he was trying to help Rollins up, but Balor ran to them and hit Rollins with his signature running dropkick into the turnbuckle, with Rollins shoving Jordan out of the way, if you listen to what the commentary team said. But it looked more to me like Jordan simply moved out of the way himself so he wouldn't take the shot. Balor hit him with a kick to knock him off the ring apron, hit Rollins with a coup de grace, and pinned him for the win. Shenanigans! The young, cocky up-and-comer cost his team the whole match, and if that wasn't enough, Miz and the Miztourage attacked them all post-match, ending their assault with a skull-crushing finale and then a mocking triple powerbomb on Reigns. But most importantly, just like that, the club feels like a big deal again! Finally! After months and months and months of being mistreated, I can't wait to see what they all do together next. And that was Raw this week. It certainly had a handful of great moments, with Miz and Joe being white hot on the mic, the club's credibility being somewhat restored, and the three big men beating the crap out of each other in these weeks leading up to their match at the Rumble for the Universal title. What did you think of Raw this week? Let me know in the comments, subscribe for more, and if you really enjoy the show, consider supporting the show on Patreon. But until then, this was this year's first Raw 20x20 because the world gets lazy on the holiday season and we all gain a couple of kilos. I'll see you here for this week's SmackDown. Catch you later.